Hello, welcome to the live stream. I know I usually do a live stream a little earlier on a Sunday, but I was feeling not too great all morning. So, I was actually just in a conversation with Saf where I was like, I don't feel like doing a video. Um, but then I decided, you know what? We do a lot of complaining and crying on my channel, and today is not that day. We are gonna do something positive, we're gonna fill our day with some content, and we're gonna continue. We're gonna push on. So I'm just gonna tweet out this live stream, and whoever wants to join can join. But what we're doing is a live dramatic reading. Um, and for anyone who isn't about that, that's okay. You can leave. It's okay. But before we get into it, I know which chapter we're on, and I know where we're going off, and I think I know what happens right now in the story. So I've titled this stream very appropriately. But don't talk to me. Before I dive into the story, I do want to say that I was feeling a little upset today, and that's why I didn't want to do a video initially. My hair's tied up because I don't like how it looks today. I don't like how I look today. I don't like anything. It's just not been a very fun day for me today. Also, you might notice that I've put the glasses back on. That's not just for dramatic effect. I've put them back on because I've noticed. So when my contact lenses arrived, I noticed that the left one was a little itchy, and I just thought, oh, they're new contact lenses. My eyes are just getting used to them. You know, there's nothing deeper to look into this. Like, my eyes are just getting used to them, and that's it. But when I went to put them in today, like in the middle of the day, because I was like, I'm gonna do this cute look, and then contact lenses, and it's gonna be nice. Like, I can post a couple of Instagram pictures or whatever the hell, right? When I looked at my contact lenses, I noticed that the left one had a little chip in it, and I hated it. It immediately made me feel so sad because they were quite pricey, admittedly, and they took a really long time to arrive. I ordered them in like February. They took like over a month to arrive. Not just because of the company. I'm not trying to shade the company. The company's great, but they took a really long time to arrive because of, Rona season. And what ended up happening is that I had to take them out, and I've put them in like some solution in a tin, and I'm just sad. That's it. Like, I miss. I just miss having pretty contacts to wear, and I'm sad about that. So I'm hoping, I've written them an email, I'm hoping that they can give me another pair, or they can give me a refund and I can purchase another pair. But yeah, as of here and now, you won't be seeing those contacts again because my eye really hurts and it really isn't worth going blind over. So yeah, that's why initially I thought, oh, I'm not going to do a live stream today. I'm not feeling like it. Everything's sad. But you know what? We're in a time of crisis, and we gotta keep the good times rolling. We gotta keep spirits up. We gotta keep morale up. We gotta keep having fun until this is over or we all die. So that's what we're gonna do. Welcome, Junk Shop Library, my regular for any of my live dramatic readings. I'm so happy you're here because this would be really sad if it was just me reading a story to myself. Thank you for coming in. Oh, you didn't get a notification today. I don't know what that's about. If I'm being completely honest, YouTube's been going a little weird with me recently. My subscriber count keeps going like up and down a lot. I go from like 1,350 subscribers back down to 1,350, all of that stuff. It's just a lot. So I don't know what YouTube's doing. I'm hoping that I can get some more subscribers, because honestly, doing this every day is, I kind of love it. I kind of love sitting here making these videos and editing them down, making them funny, making people laugh. It seems like my calling. Welcome Bill Ashby, welcome Ahmed09, another one of my regulars. Welcome John Peterson. It's okay, you look hot in glasses. Thank you. I don't feel hot today. Bill Ashby says we were supposed to be at DaveCon this weekend. I know, I'm very sad about it, but we haven't. Dave has announced another date, and I do believe that there will be an announcement for tickets very soon. So please do go and follow him on Twitter if you haven't already. Junk Shop Library says, yeah, YouTube itself doesn't know what it's doing right now. I think YouTube is a little overloaded. A lot of people are online. A lot of people are stuck at home. I don't really blame YouTube for being all over the place. Welcome, Rory the Swagger Husky. We will be getting into just reading continuing the story. We're on chapter 6. If you don't know what's going on, I don't want to make it feel like a members only club, but you know, you might have to watch the first live stream to know exactly what happened in the first 5 chapters. I don't know if we're going to record 5 chapters because every single time I do this, my phone seems to almost get to dying. So when that notification comes up on my phone and it inevitably freezes the video, we'll just end off there because I'll have about 20% battery left and that'll be that. But before I dive in, how is everyone doing? I hope everyone's okay. Hope everyone's having a good day so far. Hope everyone's fine in isolation. It's a lot for a lot of people, but I hope it's going well. You do not need to apologize for being late. It's a live stream. That's how this works. I'm just gonna check Twitter really quickly before diving into the story. I also downloaded a significant amount of video games, so I think I'm going to do more content like that, even though the first one that I played, well, technically the second one that I played on this channel, was a little sad and depressing, and I didn't mean for it to be. Hi, Julie LaVoice, did you check out my makeup tutorial that I made for you? Because I think I did a pretty good job. I've watched it over. Well, to be honest, I don't find makeup instructional videos very interesting, but I think I edited it down pretty well. Hi, Bill Ashby. I don't mind not knowing what's going on. I'm here for the chat. I'm doing all right, but super busy. Lockdown for me is pretty much non-existent. Well, that's good. I'm good that there is some sense of normalcy with a few people. But we're gonna dive in. We're gonna continue reading our story. Now, for context, this was a story that I started in 2016 and I updated as late as 2018 because it was part of the NaNoWriMo challenge, or the National Novel Writing Month challenge. I think that's what it's called. It's been a while since I've done anything like that. But I wrote this quite a while ago, so 2016, about 4 years ago. And it revolves around the paranormal, conspiracies. It says psychological warfare here, where I've written like the blurb. And we're going to continue from the last dramatic reading. If you haven't seen it again, I would advise that you go and read that because the first 5 chapters are in there. But we're going to continue from here. And then, you know, I'll take a break at the end of every chapter and we'll just dive into the live chat and see what's going on. So chapter 6. Amanda sat in clothes that seemed to better fit a medieval crusader as she waited for Lisa and Alina to get out of the changing rooms. She leaned back against the whitewashed walls and let her mind's eye take over. It was like watching television, but better. She saw huge orchards in a distant land being blown about by sand, men herding their stubborn livestock to get inside, a legion of soldiers on horseback, red crosses emblazoned on their white uniforms, leapt from the horizon and charged through the orchards. Amanda could hear every sound, smell every remote scent, see every minuscule detail that these ghosts had to offer her. And yet they could not interact with her or see her. It was a strange, abnormally powerful sensation. She could see herself unsheath a broadsword and look at the metal shining the light off a blazing hot desert sun. Amanda! Amanda woke up and blinked, a slight headache throbbing in the veins of her temples. She pinched the bridge of her nose and shut her eyes tight. You okay, daydreamer? Lisa asked her. What are you dressed as? Amanda groaned and looked up as Lisa sat next to her. I was getting in character, she said. You can never have too many crusades. She looked at Lisa and furrowed her brows. What the hell are you dressed as, Andy? The fairy godmother, except slutty. Lisa was dressed in a blue dress that was cut high up at a mid-thigh length, a little tiara on her head, and fishnets. Her breasts were straining to pop out of the sweetheart cut of the bodice. The dress, if it could be called that, had so much glitter sparkling on it, you'd think a unicorn had vomited all over it. It was the strangest thing in the world, in Amanda's opinion anyway, but she had to admit, Lisa pulled it off well. Okay, Amanda laughed. You are not nearly drunk enough to be walking around in that. We are here with a teenager, you realize that? Yeah, Lisa said, looking bored as she inspected her fingernails. This way she'll know she can go in 2 directions when she grows up. She outstretched her arms to make a V shape. Like you, or like me. Yes, limit her to 2 options. 1, Amanda gestured to Lisa, shamelessness and irresponsibility. Then she gestured to herself. 2, morbidity and insanity. Lisa shrugged. I always said we'd make a good couple, you and me. I'm not gay, Amanda laughed. But if you were, Lisa said. You're not gay, Amanda told her. Neither of us is gay. Excuse me, but I'm delightfully undecided, Lisa pointed out. I am experimenting and have to say, enjoying it immensely. Amanda shook her head. Of course you would. What is that supposed to mean? Lisa exclaimed, laughing in an incredulous manner. Alina, Amanda's slut-shaming. Be careful what you put on in there. It didn't mean anything, Amanda smiled. I was just pointing it out. You said it like you've never been adventurous. I've never been to an orgy, Amanda laughed. That happened once, Lisa said, pointing at Amanda, and then added quickly, well, twice, but the second time I was drunk, so it doesn't count. I'm sure you were drunk for both, Amanda replied. Nuh-uh, Lisa said. The first time it happened because there was nothing to drink. Shit got boring. What are you two on about? Alina said, sliding back the curtain of her changing room and stepping out. Amanda smiled at her. You look gorgeous. Lisa rolled her eyes and muttered, You look boring. Amanda nudged Lisa with her elbow and stood up. She held Alina's shoulders, felt the soft bottle green fabric that rested upon them. In her place, Amanda could see the bearing of some ancient princess smiling at her. There was an energy, some form of an aura emanating from Alina, and Amanda could not understand or comprehend it. She had never seen such a thing before. Amanda blinked, attempting to bring herself back to reality. She looks beautiful, Amanda told herself. That's all this is. And Alina was, with her large brown eyes and a sprinkle of freckles running over her cheeks and nose, standing in a pretty dress or not, Alina was a very beautiful girl. Amanda's friendship with Alina made her even more so. You're going to look gorgeous come prom night, Amanda told her. Hair, makeup, shoes. You're going to turn all the heads. Alina scoffed and looked away. I don't know if I'll go. Lisa stood up. Why not? I don't really have anyone to go with, or to do hair and makeup with, Alina said. She sighed. We could come, Lisa offered and checked with Amanda. Right? I don't know, Amanda said. I'm not really for hormone-enraged parties, and that business trip to England with Alina's father is coming up pretty soon. Oh, bother with that, Lisa said. Wait, Alina turned to Amanda, her dress turning with her. You're going to England? With my dad? Why didn't he tell me? It was confirmed today, Amanda explained. He was probably planning to tell you when he got back home. He's not going to be here, Alina said. And you're not going to be here either? I didn't really want to go, if that helps, Amanda offered. This sucks, Alina cursed. Are you going to be here, Lisa? Lisa looked at Amanda and back to Alina. I don't know. I might be flying out with your dad and Amanda. Ugh, Alina cried. I'm going to be stuck with Gemma? She turned to Amanda. Can't you postpone the flight until, after prom? Amanda shook her head. Your dad might be able to. You can ask him. Alina nodded to herself quickly. Why not you? I thought you guys did the same thing. You're in the same position. Your father is in a better relationship with our bosses than me. They might listen to him more, Amanda said. But come on, let's take off these. She shook her chainmail. Ridiculous costumes. Maybe pay for yours and get something to eat. I'm starved. You can't be serious, Alina cried out. I can't do this. I'm putting this dress back. She turned around to go back into the dressing room. Lisa went into the neighboring changing room. Oh, come on, Alina. You'll still have fun at the prom. No, I won't, she said, much like a toddler might. Amanda took it to a changing room, shutting her eyes without thinking about what Alina was saying. She changed into her own clothes and never felt more comfortable in them. She fixed her white shirt and momentarily considered buying a tie. Then she shook her head and decided against it. She was fine just the way she was. Amanda threw the costume over an arm and drew back the curtain of her changing room. She set it on a rack and waited for the others to come out. Alina was still talking, but it was all flying past her head. Amanda was thinking far too much about Alina's father to be paying attention to anything else. I hate that pig-headed bastard, Amanda muttered. Lisa stepped out of her changing room and gave Amanda a look. Morbid as ever, she commented. Would it kill you not to button that shirt up so high? Amanda slapped Lisa's hand away as she reached to fix her shirt. It's fine the way it is. Lisa furrowed her brows at Amanda. You're single, right? Amanda passed her a dangerous look. Sorry, Lisa said, looking away and raising her hands, muttering, I forgot you're married to your imaginary boyfriend. Amanda curled her lip. She looked up at the ceiling and murmured, I'll wait at the checkout. Lisa turned her head to Amanda and walked away. She could have sworn she'd heard the older woman's voice crack, but said nothing. Amanda stepped out of the woman's changing room and handed the costume to the attendant. She took a moment to wipe her eyes with the back of her hands. She felt stupid, being hurt by such a harmless comment. But hurt it did, like a reminder of a reality she didn't want to face. Amanda tried to fill her mind with rainbows and sunshines, horses running across the wide green fields, dotted with little yellow flowers that faced the sun. Amanda sniffed and sighed. It was the most ridiculous cure, but it helped. You okay? Someone asked. I'm clearly asking against my better judgment. But Amanda spun and punched whatever was in front of her. Han flew back and held his jaw. A trickle of red streamed down his lip. For a moment, the only sound was the music playing around the store. Every person was staring at them, unable to move or say anything. I hate you, Amanda breathed. Han stood straight and raised his hands. I deserved that. I'm sorry. What are you doing here? Amanda asked. Get out. Han came forward. Really, Amanda, in a public place? I told you to stay away. Amanda scowled. I'm here to collect my daughter, okay? It has nothing to do with you, Han said. Amanda stared at him and moved closer. Your daughter, she's having social problems, Amanda whispered to him in a very angry tone of voice. I suggest you help sort these problems out before you leave and to go gallivanting off to save the world. What? Han said. Amanda grabbed Han's collar and pulled him forward. And if she asks, Han, I didn't tell you this, she rasped. She's picked out a really nice dress for prom, and she would fucking own that party in it. You had better pay for her and encourage her to go. Han nodded. She is my daughter, Amanda, he reminded her. Then pay more attention to her. She needs you. Amanda wiped the blood on his chin with her sleeve and threw him away. She touched her head. If Lisa asks, I've gone off to find the nearest bar to see if alcohol poisoning gets me before you do. Han sighed. Amanda, when's the flight? Amanda asked him. Friday, Han replied, trying to use as few words as possible. Amanda nodded. Amanda, Han called her again. She looked up at him. What? Han paused, brushed his tongue over his sore lip and winced in pain. He shook his head. Never mind, he said. Don't be worried about me, Amanda said, a sinister air in her voice, and a dark look masking her face. It was eerie to behold her, to say the least. I'll be fine. Fate's not kind enough to let me fade just yet. And that's chapter 6. I don't know how many of you are following from last week, but, I mean, welcome. I'm just going to dive into the comments before I move on to the next chapter, just because that's what I like doing. That's the format of this live stream. Julie Lavoie says, I did check out the makeup tutorial. I don't think I can tightline my eyes because they're super sensitive. I bought everything out, but everything else was extremely helpful. I would love for you to do a recreation. I would love to see what you come up with, because I think that that would be fun to see. I don't think enough people have enough fun with makeup. I think there's a lot of drama around makeup. And yeah, I hope that, I really do hope that you enjoyed it. Junk Shop Library says, definitely check out part 1 after this one, y'all. Thank you. The Light Noor says, first time live with you. I can't read that in Arabic. But welcome, the Light Noor. Junk Shop Library says, delightfully undecided is another amazing phrase by author Faye. I love it. Thank you. Hi, Nerdy Rodent. Welcome to the live stream. And Julie LaVoice is still laughing at the unicorn vomit. Excellent. But I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next chapter. If there are no further comments, we're in chapter 7. For those of you who have, never watched any of these live streams, we are doing a live dramatic reading. It's where I look up a story that I wrote from years ago and I just read it out dramatically. It's a pretty simple staple of what I do. If that's not for you, I'm sorry, you can join me for another video another time, but that's what we're doing today. It's what we usually do, is we do a live stream on Sunday. And yeah, welcome, Mustafa. Don't think you've ever been in any of my live streams. That's pretty sick. Thank you for joining us. We're going to move on to chapter 7. If you don't know what the first 5 chapters look like, you'll feel free to go to the first reading of Fork Road, which was the last live stream, if I'm not mistaken, on a Sunday or a Saturday. I might put it as a card at the end of this video. But yeah, I hope you enjoy the rest of the live stream, and feel free to leave any passing comments or questions in the live chat. So chapter 7. Lisa took Han's message and looked for Amanda in the most casual way a person could when a friend suddenly disappeared on them. In her head, she was frantically searching all the pubs and clubs and alleyways. However, it would better be described as a distance inspection of all these places, loitering there for a while, then moving on to a different place. Lisa was partially glad. She always thought Amanda needed to do something crazy. Perhaps not all the time, but Lisa reckoned she could let her hair down once in a while to do something spontaneous. And then Lisa saw what she never really wanted to. Amanda, Lisa said, jaw dropped and eyes wide. She rushed past the raging mob in the strip club and tried to get to the front. Amanda, she called. Holy shite on a stick, get down from that pole. Amanda smiled and climbed up the pole and looked at Lisa upside down. Andy, come to see the show? She spoke with a slur and giggled too much. I've seen enough, Lisa said, looking at her. God, get down. Amanda gripped the pole and split her legs wide, bending and stretching them in mid-air. No, she said suddenly, looking more serious. Holy fuck, you have mad upper body strength, Lisa said. She shook her head, trying to snap out of it. Where the hell are your pants? And when did your underwear get so trashy? She asked. And then she muttered, at least you've still got your shirt on. You didn't give anyone a lap dance, did you? Amanda got down, throwing her hair out and standing close to the metal pole. Does it matter? She asked. Lisa backed away as Amanda approached her. Amanda, this is creepy. Stop it. Amanda got her by the shoulders and forced her into a chair. Lisa held the seat, not knowing what to expect, but braced herself regardless. Creepy? Amanda asked, bending over to her face level with Lisa's. You say that like I should care, Andy. Lisa stared back at her. Stop it. Amanda stood straight. Do you want to come with us? She asked. To England? I haven't. Amanda hooked a foot under Lisa's seat and tipped it back. Lisa hit her head hard on the floor and felt a weight sit on her chest. Lisa looked up at Amanda. The rest of the club had gathered around them. Lisa didn't know if this was to stop the scene or to encourage it. What makes you think you're all that ready? Amanda asked her. Lisa tried to implore her. Amanda smashed her forehead into Lisa's mouth. Lisa gasped as if unable to scream. She felt tears prick her eyes and touched her mouth. Her fingers were soaked with red and her face stunned to silence. Shut up, Amanda told her. There was a bloody mark on her pale forehead. She got up. And go home. I don't want to see you until I come back to my senses. The world was a blur. A weird blur that didn't seem to want to straighten or fix. It was also oddly grey and unshifting. Amanda was grateful it wasn't shifting. She felt the nausea in her stomach and throat ready to shift with a single moment. I've used shift way too many times in that paragraph. She groaned a little and very slowly touched her aching forehead. A car horn blasted and it hit her senses like a gunshot. She swore, anger fueling her pain, and held her mouth as she sat up. Her cheeks puffed out as she gagged, and she put an arm to her stomach. You did that on purpose, she muttered, kicking the driver's seat. Oh, you can be damn sure I did, Han replied, smiling. He started the car, and it began to lurch forward. Dick, Amanda snapped, laying against the back seats and trying not to spill her innards as the car moved. Why'd you stuff me in the back of your car? She slurred. Why not just drop me off at the compound? Han scoffed. What? Amanda said, beginning to notice small details about her apparel and body. She looked at the underside of her left arm. Whose number is this on my arm? Let me jog your memory, shall I? Han took a deliberate sharp turn. Amanda gagged, her vision blurring. Stop that, she croaked. After Lisa found you last night, she called me, told me that you'd lost your head a little. Han explained. I told her to simply leave my number on your arm and then leave you be. Not sure how she managed it, but she did. Clearly, I'm not entirely sure how the night proceeded for you, but I received a call from a stranger not too long ago, retrieved you from said stranger's house, and here we are. I'd advise you to take some birth control. You weren't in a very good shape before I put you in the car. What? Amanda said. Somebody took me home? He did more than just that. Han scoffed. A grow-up, Amanda spat, adjusting her trousers. These clothes aren't mine, she noticed. Lisa asked me to pick some up for you, in case I found you in this condition. I bought some from a local store, Han told her. You dressed me? Amanda asked. It was uncomfortable carrying you out into the middle of the street naked as a baby, Han replied, taking another sharp turn. Amanda threw up a little in her mouth and swallowed the sickly, salty, scalding fluid back down. You realize that if I throw up, I'll be throwing up all over your head, she snapped. Han turned on the radio and blasted out the music. Amanda pressed her hands over her ears and shut her eyes. She felt like her head was about to explode. Such a dick, she shouted. Han drove on like this for a long while, until he shut the radio off and parked the car on a nondescript street. He sat quietly and waited for Amanda to stop cowering. Amanda, what is this really about? He asked her. I've never seen you so worked up in all my time working alongside you, and we have been through several traumatic times together. I've already been screwed enough times in the last 24 hours. I'm not getting in your pants, Amanda retorted. Han sighed and turned over a little, putting his arm over the headrest of his seat. Whether you like it or not, Amanda, we are going on a mission together. We are partners again, and I am asking in that specific context, and no other, he paused. More than that, actually, whether you like it or not, I am your friend. I'm worried. What's the matter, aside from this Valfreya thing? Amanda looked away. I don't want to talk about it, she mumbled. Han sunk in his seat and shook his head. Then I suppose we'll just sit here until you do. I don't remember the last time coercion worked well with me, Amanda said. If you have questions, ask. I just don't expect me to have all the answers or want to share them with you if I do have them. Han grunted. You used to work with Nile Corp, and before your transfer to Beta Team, and it possibly was the reason for your transfer, you shot and killed a Nile Corp member that was your friend. Han looked at Amanda. It was more than what I expected of you, than any of us expected of you, and it wasn't just a show of loyalty. You did what you had to do, and I've respected you more since then. But your emotional state declined when you were transferred. Han took a breath. I'm sorry, is all I can really say, but do you still have sympathies for Nile Corp, or at the very least the members you were affiliated with? I hadn't really thought about it until now, Amanda admitted, her voice a humbled mumble. After you left for Montreal, Beta Team wasn't at all concerned with fighting with Nile Corp. There was always something bigger to worry about, so I didn't have to think about it. Amanda, what does Beta Team do? Han asked. You don't know? If you don't know, then you haven't been told, and if you haven't been told, then it's probably classified information for you, Amanda replied. I need to know. Then you have to promise not to tell anyone that I told you, or divulge this to anyone outside ourselves. I'm pretty sure I can manage to keep a secret. Alpha Team is focused on defeating Nile Corp, who want to see the end of the world through chaos caused by strange artifacts. Amanda began, straightening herself in her seat. Beta Team goes a step further. She looked for the correct words. We find ways to speak and interact with the users of these artifacts, perhaps even their creators. A lot of ghost talk, then? Han asked, little less sarcastic about it. Yes, Amanda replied, a lot of ghost talk. Talbot had made a breakthrough with me. For some reasons, the ghosts connect with me better than others. It's like talking on a wireless signal. Some people only receive the message in small fragments. I have a better connection that can be strengthened with the use of the machine, which is why I know or can find where all the artifacts are. But lately more powerful ghosts have made contact. They corrupt the signal, like a virus that wants to take over. Han paused. So it's an honest-to-God real thing, not just a bunch of loonies like Briar makes out. It's classified information for her as well, Amanda said. And if it isn't, she doesn't see it to be very important. Frankly, it's the only way of understanding what specific artifacts do and how we can deactivate them from use. And the artifact in England? Han asked. Don't know, Amanda replied. I haven't used the machine since the last accident. Han muttered something under his breath, then asked again. And Nile Corp, do you have sympathies? What would you think if I said yes? Amanda asked back. Han began. I wouldn't be happy about it, but I'd understand. I don't have sympathies, Amanda replied. Not for the organization, just for some of the members. Han nodded to himself. All right then. He started the engine again. The car drove on for a long while, and Amanda yawned, feeling drowsy and unwell. Coffee sound good to you? Han asked her. I just want to sleep, she replied, shaking her head. Then I'll take you to my house. You can sleep in peace there. I'll let Gemma know and go to the compound. Tell them I couldn't find you or something, Han offered. Sounds good, but they'll know, Han. They'll know you found me, Amanda replied. They'll just have to deal with it, he smiled. Besides, it's the least I can do for you. You've been taking better care of my daughter than I have, and I'm grateful for that, you know? It's not a hassle dealing with Alina, Amanda laughed, kicking the back of the driver's seat again. There's nothing even remotely dickish about her, unlike you. If you two didn't look alike, I'd have my doubts that you were related. Han just scoffed at the remark. Did you talk to her? Amanda asked. Yes, Han replied. You'll be happy to know she will be going to the prom. Oh? Amanda raised her brows. What changed her mind? Just a bit of confidence from our father, Han replied. Oh. Amanda nodded. So the other guy your ex-wife slept with came around then? Han looked back at Amanda and shot his head. Cheap shot, Amanda. Cheap shot. And that's... I don't like that last piece of conversation, but that's chapter 7. What do you guys think so far? Are you having a good time? Some of you have dropped off, decided this isn't for you, which is fine. But what do you guys think? How are you guys feeling? Let me know in the comments, in the live chat. I'll take a little bit of a break before moving on to the next chapter, chapter 8. But yeah, how are we feeling? Welcome, Linard Ice. Thank you for joining the chat. I hope you have a good time here. Alright, since there is a demand, I'm just going to drink some flavoured water. Since there is a demand for me to continue, I think I will. So we are on to chapter 8. I think in chapter 8 we introduced some interesting characters. No, not peach. It is apple and raspberry. The other one I had was orange and mango, which was a nicer one. Thank you, Julie LaVoice. I love your descriptions and dialogue. Thank you. That's very kind. So we're going to move on to chapter 8. Amanda was the first person to get to the airport that Friday. She'd done it on purpose. come hours earlier than anyone else so she could look around the different shops and what they were selling at duty-free prices. She found that throwing away money for useless little items of food always made her feel better for some reason. Perhaps it was a habit instilled in her by Lisa. They hadn't spoken since the incident at the strip club, though they had texted a little. Amanda sat alone at a round table and sipped at a polystyrene cup of coffee. She was dressed more casually today. She felt she needed a change from the regular shirt and trousers look. She wore casual bootleg jeans, black ankle boots, a loose grey v-neck sweater, a thin beige overcoat, black leather gloves, and a grey beanie on her head. One case of her necessary belongings rested beside her next to the table. Coming early had also given Amanda more time for her to think about the journey ahead, something she hated doing but did far too often nonetheless. Amanda leaned back in her seat and lifted the mug to her lips, the coffee no longer piping hot as she drank it. Her face crumpled and she put down the cup. She took out her cell phone, the vibrations of which she had been ignoring for all the time she had been at the airport, and scrolled through the messages. Amanda scoffed a little and gave Han a call. "Amanda," Han spoke, picking up the call in an instant, a split second. "Where the hell are you?" Amanda laughed on the inside, though she kept her voice reserved. "I'm at the airport. Where are you?" "Driving to the goddamn airport," Han retorted. "I've been calling you all morning, searching the compound. The whole organization is searching all over Philly for you." "And yet they didn't think to take a glance in the airport?" Amanda asked him. "Seems excessive. They could have tracked my phone." Han sighed. "Well, I'm glad you're all right. We're close to the airport. Stay put?" "Of course. Call off the search. I've been here for ages." Amanda laughed. "You did this on purpose." Han pointed out. "Did not," Amanda replied. "Did too." "Did not." "You did, and you know it. Did not, slander and calumny. You'll find any excuse to cause a fuss for Briar." "Oh, she sent out the search?" Amanda kissed her teeth. "Didn't know she cared so much. Be glad you're leaving the country. She'd have had your head for this." "Oh, I know she would have tried," Amanda scoffed. "Now quit driving and talking to me. You're going to have an accident and subsequently have a reason to blame me for it." Han dropped the call as instantaneously as he had picked it up. Amanda looked at her cold coffee idly. It took her a moment to realize she was smiling. It felt somehow wrong, so she stopped. Dan had always hated Han, for reasons Amanda still didn't quite know, as she was only told of his bitter rivalry long after Dan's death. There was a sliver of longing in her still for Dan, so there was also a loyalty to him that she couldn't quite get rid of, despite the fact that Dan had been dead for quite some time. Not to say that she didn't engage in any physical relationships. She'd had many and only regretted a few, but none of these relationships were about commitment. They were simply there to fulfill a need or a want. Stress release, Amanda would call it. Perhaps in her mind she couldn't fathom any more meaningful relationships. Perhaps she was scared to find that she could love another. She didn't know, and she decided it wouldn't matter much for longer anyway, since she was going to England. "Oi, oi," someone said, approaching Amanda. She looked up and found a narrow, bleak-looking woman standing over her, hands in pockets and elbows swaying where they stuck out in a rhythmic fashion. The woman was smiling, but it was by no means sweet. There was a dark menace about her. Amanda blinked, stowing her phone away and checking her pockets for her wallet without actually meaning to. "Can I help you?" she asked the woman. The woman scoffed, itching the back of her head, one side of which was completely shaved clean, the other abundant with cascades of brunette curls. "A British accent in this American mess. How refreshing," she said, smiling and holding an empty chair at Amanda's table. "This seat taken?" Amanda gestured for her to sit, and the woman sat. "Haven't seen you before," Amanda replied. The woman put her hands together. Amanda noticed the colourful tattoos painted on the woman's arms creeping to her wrists, hidden beneath her dark sleeves, and she furrowed a brow at Amanda. "That's something worth mentioning?" she asked. "Considering I don't usually meet people I'm not told about, Nobody strange ever give you a polite hello? Smiled the woman, a glint of silver shining from the inside of her mouth. Amanda scoffed. Not unless they want to sleep with me, and I reckon you're not here for that. Amanda smiled. Who are you? Geez, you must be fun everywhere, the woman commented. You've got to be Amanda Cross. Han told me about you. Amanda gave the woman an observant, wary look, wondering what kind of response she would receive. You're not his ex, are you? The woman guffawed, banging her fist on the table. Nah, never in the next million fucking years would I even pretend to be Hans Schmidt's ex. Well, thank God, Amanda replied. I don't think I could have sat at a table with a woman so tainted. Name's Aria Miller, said the woman, putting her hand forward. Amanda continued to narrow her eyes, taking in the woman's clearly Indo-Aryan features, and shook her head. No, it's not. Well, just Miller to most, the woman shrugged, and took her hand away. I don't work with your organization, but the English division has hired me to equip you and Wonder Boy with some tools you might need. I'll be flying with you to London. You'll get a briefing from the bigwigs, for which I'll be present. But then you'll be handed to me so I can give you your supplies. Then you'll be on your way to Bradley. Pretty, quiet place. Miller yawned, open-mouthed and unashamed, and then winked. But don't think that London is the last you'll be seeing of me. Amanda paused and stared at Miller for a very long time. Amanda focused on a mark on the table before she said, I'm going to ask you again, who are you? Miller, Miller replied, that menacing smile pulling higher. I'm hired help. Amanda smirked, looked away and shook her head. Never thought they'd resort to smugglers and thugs. Oi, Miller objected, standing and shoving Amanda's shoulder immediately. You gotta talk like that, do you? Labels and names? Forget where you came from, Mandy. Don't call me that. I know your type, Miller smirked, shaking a forefinger at Amanda. That accent. I've lived in London all my life, and I can tell. She sat down and stared at Amanda. Chelsea girl, yeah? With a northwest hint, under all that American tone in. Amanda glared at Miller. Stop that, she murmured, dark-faced. After all these years, you couldn't quite brush off what you were, Mandy, what I am. Miller said, her smile shrinking, but staying nonetheless. London hood rat. Stop that, Amanda repeated. Amanda! Amanda was almost relieved to hear Han's voice. She stood up far too eagerly and turned to see him approaching, hailing her from a distance with his hand raised in the air. Lisa was behind him, carrying 2 duffel bags. Alina and her stepmother, Gemma, followed after them, along with, most shockingly, Talbot. Cavalry's arrived, Miller muttered, standing and putting her hands in her pockets. Talbot was the first one to get to Amanda. You silly child, he scolded her. We were looking all over for you. We thought perhaps you'd done something incredibly stupid. Amanda laughed. Well, I'm here, aren't I? She smiled at Talbot. Amanda. Han nodded at her. Hansel. Amanda nodded back. Then looked at Lisa. Andy, don't worry about it, Lisa said, putting her hand up. Already forgotten. Just glad to see you're all right. Han gestured to Miller. I see you've already met Ari, he said to Amanda. About that, Amanda replied. When were you going to tell me that the living embodiment of the 90s? Oh, ouch, Miller muttered sarcastically. Han sighed, rolling his eyes. I see you've made friends. He tried to move past them. Now, let's get a move on. Whoa there, soldier, Miller said, blocking his path. You gotta leave your baggage behind, she said, jutting her chin out to Han's family. Say your goodbyes, then we can get going. Are you kidding? Alina blurted out. There's hours left. Miller gave Alina a look, that shark-toothed smirk, making the young girl shudder. I'm afraid I don't joke much, little girl. Give your daddy your hugs and kisses. He can't take you past me. Han sighed and took his family over to a corner to say his farewells to them. Amanda looked at Talbot and asked him, Got any advice for me? Talbot thought for a moment before shaking his head, his white goatee waggling. No, he said. I'm just sorry that I couldn't talk Briar and Xavi to letting you be. Amanda shrugged. We'll all take our turn, Doc, she said. That might be, Talbot smiled sadly, stroking Amanda's arm, but I never thought in all my years that you'd take yours before me, despite your apparent recklessness. Come on, Doc, Amanda laughed. Not going to cry, are you? Talbot looked at his feet. It's all an old man can afford when he sees the departure of his greatest success. He looked up and frowned at Amanda. I'm sorry, Miss Cross. I really am. Amanda shook her head and accepted a hug from Talbot. You did what you could, Amanda murmured. Talbot released her and wiped his eyes with the back of his wrinkled hands. I would appreciate it if you'd return intact, Miss Cross. No unnecessary risks. Amanda laughed. You say that like I'm the one making the decisions. She looked over at Han. Talbot shrugged. The old man the only one that's getting a hug? Lisa asked. Amanda pushed her playfully. You're coming with us, aren't you? Yeah, Lisa smiled and leaned in to whisper. I told Han you let me. Always getting me in trouble, Amanda muttered. Oh, you're in for it. The fucker threw a goddamn strop, Lisa told her. What? Why? Amanda raised a brow. What did you say? Nothing, Lisa said, moving past her to stand next to Miller. Just that you absolutely refused to live any longer if you went with Han alone. You threatened him with my suicide? Blackmailed. Lisa corrected. Andy. Amanda shook her head. What? I wanted to go with you. Lisa protested. All's fair. Amanda laughed to herself. Amanda. Amanda froze. The perfect yet brittle enunciation of her name making her feel uneasy. She turned and nodded. Gemma, she said. I trust you'll keep an eye on Hansel, she said. Amanda raised her eyebrows. You want me to keep an eye on him? Professionally speaking. Of course, Amanda said, still feeling very uncomfortable. Gemma had a personality that was uncannily similar to Briar's, and it creeped Amanda out. So, Alina said, this is goodbye? Amanda gave her a tight grin. For now, she said, I'll see you soon, or try to. I'll text you, Alina told her. You won't be all that gone if we still message each other. Amanda smiled and scoffed a little, trying to hold her emotions back. Yeah, she said, licking her upper lip. You're gonna kill it at prom. Alina didn't say anything. She just looked down and smiled to herself. You better go, Amanda insisted. I will, Alina assured her, for you, if nothing else. Good. We done? Miller asked. We better get a move on. Alina threw her arms around Amanda and squeezed her. I'll miss you, she said. Amanda patted her on the back and messed the girl's hair up. Yeah, I'll miss you too, Amanda murmured, but I have to go. Alina nodded and let go, sucking her cheeks in. Amanda picked up her suitcase and shook hands with Talbot one last time before she followed Miller, Han and Lisa away from Alina, her stepmother, and the doctor. And that was chapter 8. How are we doing? Are we following? Did any of that make sense? I realized that I went into like a bizarre accent in the middle of that. I don't know if that was annoying. But yeah. I'm just going to check the chat for a second. Leonard Ice says, I love peach. Peach is a good flavour for sparkling water. Julie LaVoice, yes, please keep going. Mark, Melik Lendell, what's up, Faye? Welcome to the chat. I hope you're having a good time. Yeah, I really, really do hope you're having a good time. I understand that a lot of people who might join in the middle of this may not fully understand what's going on. But yeah, that's what we're doing. Junk Shop Library says, narrow, bleak-looking woman. Nice. I feel I can see her immediately. Okay, I know I wrote this story and this is my own story, but Miller is my favorite character. I think I mentioned in the last, it was either the last dramatic reading live stream or the one before. I have one character that I kind of put in all of my stories because I've tried to interconnect the universe, but Miller is this story's iteration of that character. She's my favorite character in this story. So yeah. 19th October, welcome. He says, hey, flaunting your undercut today. I mean, it's not much of an undercut at the moment. I'm gonna shave it tonight. Maybe I'll flaunt it tomorrow. But yeah, I guess I am flaunting my undercut. But it desperately needs shaving. Like, I'm very annoyed that my sideburns have grown back in. 19th October, she has a glowing to her. Yeah, I put a lot of highlighter on my face, like a lot. All she does is read through the stream. Junk Shop Library. It's a dramatic reading. Yeah, it's reading my own story. It's not reading anybody else's story. It's just me reading my own old work and enjoying it, to be honest. Mike Lendell, you wrote this? Yeah, I wrote this in 2016 and I updated it as late as 2018. So yeah, and we're going through it. It's 15 or 18 chapters long. I haven't checked in a while. But it's about 15 chapters long and it's incomplete, so I'm just rereading it, and I thought, why not do a live stream of me reading it fully, and then maybe I can figure out an ending for it. And if I can't figure it out, feel free to steal this idea, because I don't know if I'm ever going to finish it. It's good that the narrative makes sense. It's good. Kusan, hey, you read Berserk? Cool. Yeah, Berserk is my favorite thing in the whole fucking world. I I say that in almost every single video. Berserk is my favorite thing in the whole world, and I love it. Love it. Talha says, how's life? Life is good. It's an isolation. It's not much I can complain about, not much I can say, but I mean, a bit dull, innit? But yeah, I'm trying to keep myself busy, trying to entertain people, trying to keep everything light and fun and interesting. That's it. 19th October, I like the brunette better. Well, I mean, brunette's my natural colour, and I have a brunette wig for whenever I feel like going back to brunette, but I enjoy the colours way more than I enjoy my natural hair colour. And also, my hair can take a lot, because I've dyed this hair many, many, many times. Many, 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 many times. I've bleached it, I've undercut it, I've done so many things with it. It's just, I love doing stuff to my hair. But if we're all good, I'm just going to check my battery, just to make sure that we're all good. Alright, yeah, we've got plenty of battery. We can move on to the next chapter if y'all are ready. We are on chapter 9, and we're finally taking a look into the deeper world that this is in. That 8 chapters of setup. Chapter 9. A lethargy overtook Amanda as she stepped off the plane. The flight was a long blur in her mind. She couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, and threw up far too many times. She was so ravenously hungry she could have bitten and gnawed off the head of the man in front of her if she wasn't so goddamn tired. Amanda, she heard Hans say, are you all right? Amanda didn't look at him, growled under her breath and said, oh yeah, she gagged, on the bitter taste of her own saliva. Just, dying. A hand gripped her shoulder and an arm cradled her head. She didn't know whose it was, but she was too exhausted and drained to protest. Amanda rested and let the person drag her along, shutting her eyes and trying to dampen her headache. Lisa, Han said, why don't you and Ari see if you can get the bags? Amanda and I will get some food. Hold up, Romeo. Miller spoke. I didn't come here to pull around your luggage. Amanda felt her weight shift her to a lower height, less built frame. That sentence makes no sense. Amanda felt her weight shift to a lower height, a less built frame. I'll find food, stuff Mandy's got, and get her to quit whining. She's been a prick the whole plane ride. Han paused clearly, and then said, if you're sure. Miller dragged Amanda along. Amanda used her sense of smell to judge the distance left to food. She felt her mouth congeal with saliva and found herself becoming strengthened by her hunger. Her steps became stronger and she could see clearer. Pathetic, she heard Miller mutter. Couldn't just watch a fucking movie like everyone else, could you? Amanda pushed her away in a drunken fashion and walked in her own uncoordinated way. You don't know how I suffer, she slurred. Miller walked by her, watching the woman trudge towards a seat and take it. Oh, boo-hoo, Miller said. You're the poor old sod suffering in this world. You're the only poor old sod suffering in this world. Amanda gave her a look. Fuck you, Miller. She draped an arm over the backrest of her seat and waited for the waitress to come around. When the lady appeared beside her, Amanda didn't wait for the fake plastic smile and welcome. She just said, look, love, I don't have time for pleasantries. If you don't get me food right now, then I will literally... Amanda gestured to Miller, eat her. Undercut hairstyle and all. Maybe spit out the piercings. Give me everything on the breakfast menu. The waitress stood up, mouthed for a moment before she said, miss, it's 9 p.m. Ah, Amanda smiled. Well, everything on the dinner menu, and don't skimp out on the sides or the sauces or the cheese. Fucking cover the whole flip-dicking lot in cheese. The waitress looked over at Miller to check if the woman was being serious. She's nuts. Miller sneered at the waitress. My cousin from Chelsea got kicked in the head by a nanny goat when she was a kid. Never been the same. The poor girl. Just get her a Greek salad. Amanda sat up and banged her fist on the table. I swear to God, Miller, I will chew your nose off if this woman shows up with just a Greek salad, she threatened. Miller rolled her eyes and then addressed the very confused and rather petrified waitress. All right, get us some decent food. Don't really care what. She leaned back. And some sides. And some fucking cheese. Amanda shut her eyes and dangled her head over the back of her chair. She groaned. More moaning, Miller muttered. Just what I need. Amanda scoffed. I didn't ask to be here, she told Miller. You want to blame someone, blame Han. Nah, Miller said. Wonderboy couldn't have dragged you into this. Amanda adjusted herself and propped her head in her hands. Elbows rested on the table. Well, he did. Han Schmidt dragged Amanda H. Cross into a mission, Miller said. Yep, Amanda said. Shame on you. In that moment, Miller was about to slap Amanda's face for good measure, but Amanda caught her hand in her own and squeezed it so that Miller's knuckles moved from their position in Amanda's grasp. Miller pulled her hand away, gasping and scowling at Amanda. Shame on me, why? Amanda asked, completely ignoring the event that had just passed. That's why, Miller remarked, shaking the pain out of her hand. They say you can't be made to do anything you don't bloody well please. Why are you doing this? Amanda smiled, shutting her eyes. Who are they? Business partners, Miller clarified, shrugging her coat off and letting it hang on her seat. Her bare arms were mesmerizing with her swirling tattooed patterns. Don't avoid the question. Amanda blinked, and a tear ran down her cheek. She giggled. Tired. So tired. She furrowed her brows as if something didn't make sense to her. And sick. Tired and sick. Sick and tired. Amanda laughed. Who are they? Miller bit her lip, sneering at Amanda. None of your fucking business, Mandy. They're talking about me. Amanda pointed out. How is it not my fucking business? Miller was about to retort when the waitress passed by and dropped off Amanda's food. You serve any drinks? Amanda asked the waitress. Of course, the waitress replied. What can I get you? Pour me a beer. Amanda replied and gestured to Miller. Get one for my cousin as well. Iced. The waitress smiled. Would you like cheese on those too? Amanda didn't smile back. Hold the cheese, she said flatly. The waitress corrected herself and moved out of Amanda's gaze for fear it might burn through her. Amanda stuffed her face in an instant, not pausing for a second, not bothering to savor the flavor of delicious food. She ate, Miller noticed, like an animal. Miller began to wonder whether Amanda really would have chewed her nose off. Amanda's phone rang, and Miller heard her growl. She proceeded to pull the machine out of her pocket and tear the battery out so that it would stop ringing. Miller's phone rang next, and Amanda stared up at her, like a deer caught in headlights, a murderous deer, with food all over her face. Miller picked up her phone. Yeah, she said. Where are you? Hans' voice asked her. Watching a nature show, live, Miller replied, not daring to take her eyes off Amanda. What? You got the bags? She asked. Yeah, Han replied. Wait outside. Give us a few minutes. We'll see you soon. She didn't wait for a reply. Miller simply shut off her phone and watched Amanda devour her meal, fascinated. Their drinks arrived, and Miller didn't notice until Amanda downed her lot and asked her, You gonna drink that? Miller picked it up and drank the beer. Amanda shrugged and sat back. Happy? Miller asked her. So happy, Amanda replied, panting. I'll go inside and pay, use the bathroom, clean up. Then we can meet up with the others. Amanda took little heed of the cab ride to the London compound. It was, again, a blur in Amanda's mind. All that she remembered distinctly was Miller trading a few words with the taxi driver, knocking on the roof of the vehicle and sending them off. Before she was even aware that they had arrived, a man was opening the cab door and putting a hand out for Amanda to grasp. Amanda regarded the hand and then took it, helping herself out of the cab and shutting the door behind her. Han and Lisa exited from the other side. The three of them looked up at the building that resembled a typical nondescript block of flats. There was a smell in the air, a stale, polluted stink that Amanda knew too well. She put up the hood of her coat and trotted forward with her hands in her pockets, grasping her wallet and phone. Han and Lisa followed her without question, the escort hurrying after Amanda himself. He eventually overtook her and tapped a button on a silver intercom stuck to the crumbling walls next to glass double doors that needed a serious cleaning. Amanda tapped her foot impatiently to get inside. "You seem jumpy," Han said to her. Amanda looked at him and scoffed. "You ought to be." A buzz sounded. The escort had held the door open and Amanda swept past him. Han heard her sigh when she stepped in, as if relieved she was no longer outside. He found it strange but decided not to question it. Then he realized there was a series of steps to climb and grunted in his irritation. Lisa was just as flustered by the mountain of stairs. "Are there no elevators in this building?" she asked. Amanda climbed ahead of them. "Yes, but it probably stinks of sex and putrefaction." "Are they faster than climbing all this?" Han inquired. "Take the elevator if you want," Amanda offered. "Just don't expect me to be dragging your dead bodies out of there, though." Always with the melodrama, Han rolled his eyes and beckoned Lisa to follow up Amanda, the escort staying behind them. Amanda laughed. "Always with the complaints," she retorted. "Don't forget that there aren't elevators in purgatory, Han." She turned a corner and continued up. "How much farther, mate?" she asked the escort. "Top floor, miss," was his reply. "Door at the furthest end." Han followed Amanda through the building, climbing up the different levels, noticing the moldy edges and the damp corners, a strong musty smell hanging in the air, so dense you could feel it like it was a tangible thing you could slice with a knife. That is too much in one sentence. He saw mysterious people hiding in the dark shadows or under blinking lights that needed changing, hoods covering their heads, silent as they did whatever they were doing. He felt the need to look over his shoulder and hold on to his belongings. He could see that Lisa was just as agitated. It felt like a frightening age, this stair climbing, until Amanda looked over at them and asked the escort, Do I knock or just let myself in?" The escort shrugged. "You better get going then," Amanda told him. Clearly not business you know too much about. He was about to step forward, then Amanda pulled out a gun from her coat and pointed it at him. "We don't want your drugs. We don't want your shite. We don't want trouble. Leave. You've played your part. Now get moving." The escort raised his hands, his nonchalance and unsurprised behavior shocking both Han and Lisa, and backed away. Amanda lowered her firearm and said, "Oh, and you touch our cab, and I'll be sure to break your arm." She kicked the door with the tip of her foot instead of knocking on it. "But I've left your tip on the doorstep of this building. If you're lucky, it's still there." The door swung open as the escort zoomed down the stairs, his dangerous rush down the stairs sounding like he was falling rather than running. Amanda put the gun away. "Amanda Cross," smiled the man behind the door. "How long has it been?" Amanda let herself in. "The company running out of money, Jeb?" she asked him. "Hiring petty thugs and smugglers?" Jeb laughed, his dark skin shining in the bad lighting of the building. "The company can't afford to hire petty thugs and smugglers. I thought that might mean they were doing well, their own little army." Amanda turned up her nose and decided not to sit anywhere. "I wouldn't put any money on it. Not on the wealth of the company. Not on your loyalty to them." Jeb fixed his shirt and fell into a squeaking couch, putting an arm upon the backrest. "So serious. Come on, Mandy. Grab a beer. Sit down." "Wanker," Amanda scoffed, giving Jeb a firm handshake. "Haven't changed a wink, have you?" "Can't say the same for you," he pointed to her, up and down. "Look at you, all Americanized," he snorted. "And who are these delightful people?" Amanda gestured to Han and Lisa. "My partner, Hans Schmidt, and my friend Andy." "Which one is Han?" Jeb asked, smiling at Lisa. "The pretty blonde? Don't look like the agent type." "She isn't. Andy's here more for observation." "Ah," Jeb said. He smiled, his smile waning a little as he approached Han. "Apologies, Agent Schmidt." Han shook Jeb's hand cautiously. "You're working with us?" he asked, clearly disapproving of the idea. "Ah, no," Jeb scoffed, a silver tooth in his mouth glinting for half a second. I'm just being paid to sit here and wait for you louts, a receptionist of sorts. Is he being serious? Han asked Amanda. I can't tell. Knowing Jeb, he probably works more with Miller than our lot, Amanda said to Han. Where do we check in, Jeb? Jeb gestured to a door that looked like it led to a dirty bathroom. Nice to see you again, Mandy. Yeah, Amanda said, taking his hand. Sure this won't be the last I see of you. Well, I'd put my money on that, Jeb said as Amanda headed to the door. Amanda smiled at Jeb, left to walk through the door, taking no notice of the disorganization of the room. Han, on the other hand, felt the need to cover his nose and kick things lying on the floor out of his path. Amanda opened the door, and Han groaned at the sight of more steps. Amanda pulled a chain on the inside. The click resounded, echoed, and a series of single naked light bulbs hanging on old wires set at an irregular interval on the diagonal ceiling flickered and blinked on. Amanda grasped the banister with one hand and descended into the depths. Han and Lisa couldn't help but look around. This is what it must feel like in Amanda's mind, Lisa muttered to Han. The emptiness made her louder than she meant to be. Han laughed anyway. Joke's on you, Mandy. Amanda laughed as well. My mind has leprechauns sliding down tangible rainbows into mountains of dwarvish gold, hoarded by dragons and guarded by beautiful damsels in distress, fought over by saints and sinners alike for centuries and that I've completely made up, she smiled. My mind is anything but dark, but then I suppose that's all a matter of perspective. Wait, really? Lisa asked. No wonder you love doing nothing. You think you've seen it all, Andy, Amanda laughed. Yet you couldn't dream the things I've seen. Han said nothing as Amanda and Lisa spoke. He focused on the task at hand. He wondered what information the English division had to offer about the situation in Bradley. He knew from Xavi that Alpha Team didn't have as strong a position here as Beta Team. The frequency of finding artifacts in British Isles was high compared to other places. There was something haunting about this place and the relics left behind in it. It certainly wasn't the first time that someone was sent to the UK to subdue Nile Corp activity. As they descended down the steady staircase, which Han found arbitrary to the extreme, Han noticed that the walls became more uniform in structure and color. It went from dark and untouched by paper or paint to tiled in a series of black, white, and red ceramics. Everything began to look more polished and sophisticated. He was bemused, but tried not to show it too much. They reached the bottom, and Han rushed to the door ahead of Amanda. He touched the round brass doorknob polished for their arrival, and turned it to crack open the door. It was locked. Knocking is polite, Amanda reminded him. Han grimaced back at her. I was eager to see something normal in this alien place. You brought me here, Amanda reminded him, kicking the door lightly with the tip of her foot, keeping her hands in her pockets. Don't forget that. Why kick the door, Amanda? Han asked. Why kick when knocking is just so much more common? Why, out of the literal billions of people in the world living today, and out of the literal 100 million billions that are no longer living, have I ended up with you? She asked him. Why not Dan? We got on so much better. How is that relevant? Han asked. Oh, I thought we were taking turns in asking pointless questions, Amanda replied. Why, Amanda? Han pressed. Well, same thing God might say. Amanda shrugged and looked over at Han. Why not? Oh, God talk again. Han slapped his forehead. You brought me here, Amanda said. Again, don't forget that. The door swung open, and a short, fat man in a waistcoat and white gloves hurried away as soon as he had opened it. Follow me, he said, checking his pocket watch. Quickly, don't want to be late. We've been expecting you for hours. Han tilted his head to a side. What a funny little man, he muttered. Amanda led them through the beautifully lit room, with the rich red walls and shining wooden panels, sparkling chandeliers hanging from the ceiling. There were paintings hanging on the walls, portraits of people that looked unearthly and gorgeous, but somehow overwhelming and terrible. Props to the people who painted these, Lisa mumbled. These are extraordinary. She brushed a finger over the lines of dried paint. Look at the signed name, Amanda pointed out. Lisa squinted to see the name of the extraordinary artist. Subject 840, she said. Is that a fancy pseudonym? Amanda walked off to follow the strange man in the waistcoat. Lisa looked at the other signed names. Subject 961, Subject 453, Subject 238. Maybe it was members of the same painting group? Lisa didn't know, but she hurried to follow Amanda and Han, feeling a strange, watched feeling on the back of her neck. She looked over her shoulder at the unearthly paintings. They made her shudder. Lisa caught up to Amanda and tried to keep a pace. Subject? Lisa asked her. Experiments, Amanda told her. Experiments with mental cases. Han cut in. Beta team has a stronger presence here, so the work is more focused on the surreal. Amanda said nothing. So you must have a number, right? Lisa asked Amanda. Subject something? I was a subject, Amanda conceded, but I'm not anymore. I didn't lose my mind after the experiments. I'm a conduit. Oh, Lisa said. So you're like the only one? No, I'm conduit 0006. They expected there to be more of us. So you must know other conduits. Dan was conduit 0004, Amanda said. The rest I've only read about. Conduit 0005 disappeared completely. Disappeared? Han growled. Alpha Team believes 0005 works with Nilcorp, else they wouldn't be such a threat, Amanda explained. Though Alpha never questions too much as to why a conduit in the possession of nihilists would be dangerous. Years of scientific research, Han exclaimed. The seed of your ignorance, Amanda whispered, is buried in the soil of your incapability to see past what you accept as reality. Lisa snorted. What? Amanda asked. Do you have a tattoo or a barcode or something to show scientists that you're a test? Lisa asked. Then she paused. Sorry, that sounded less offensive in my head. Yes, Amanda scoffed. We have scars. Scars? Han asked. Ask Han. He's seen them, was her reply. That moment was interrupted by a tall, dark man dressed in a dapper suit. He had a thin mustache and his teeth were exceedingly white. He smiled at them, at Amanda especially. Agent Amanda H. Cross, he said, giving her a warm handshake, using both hands and leaning forward. What a pleasure to meet you at last. The man let the moment linger before he looked over at Han and, clearly less enthusiastic, shook his hand. And Agent Schmidt. How's it feel? Amanda asked Han. Because I love this already. Han rolled his eyes and said nothing. I'm told you're a man that doesn't waste time, Amanda said to the stranger. Who are you, and what have you got to tell us? I give this man such an annoying name. I am Dr. Enjolras de la Vérandre, he said the man. Amanda stared at him with her mouth open. I'm going to refer to you as Andre, she decided. The man gave her a hearty laugh and said, That's fine with me, he said. As to what I have to tell you, he turned to lead them through a white-tiled room with that typical sterile smell. People in clinical white suits were milling around from room to room. Let me inform you that I am loath to recall the aid of Alpha Team once again. We would rather not have violence, but an inspection of some sort is clearly needed. I'm sure you're aware of the murders in Bradley. Yes, Han answered him. After some discussion, we've been informed of these serial killings. And I'm sure you've been told of the condition of the victims, Andre asked. Amanda waited for Han to answer. When he said nothing, she chimed in. I've seen some pictures and read some reports. Shocking, isn't it? Yes, indeed. Andre turned, walking backwards, and asked, Would you like to see one of the bodies up close, in case you notice something we haven't? It was clear he was asking Amanda, and only Amanda. Enjoying the attention, Amanda nodded, and Andre led them off into a room that resembled a hospital ward. The cadaver was covered by a thin white sheet, and a scientist was sorting through the different vials containing various bodily fluids. She looked up and fumbled. Oh, she said. Sir, who are these people? The agents sent by the Philadelphia division, Andre said, taking notice of Lisa and adding, and I'm assuming a protege. The scientist walked up to Amanda and stared at her. Conduit 6, oh my, never thought I'd meet one of you. Uh-huh, Amanda said, amused by the woman's awestruck face. Can you show us the body? Oh, of course, she said, rushing back. hitting her leg on the corner of a table, ignoring it, and then pulling back the sheet. Amanda walked up beside the dead body, narrowing her eyes. Andre leaned against the door, arms folded. No signs of struggle, no noticeable cause of death, no poison, no signs of shock or cardiac arrest or stroke. Simple death. Amanda didn't remove her gaze. Male or female? She asked. The victim is female, Andre replied, but there are plenty that are male. There's no discrimination between gender, age, race, no preference at all, Amanda finished. She touched the cold face of the cadaver and said, What happened to all her hair, the pigment in her lips? She's white as a sheet. A phenomenon that all the victims undergo a few days after death, Andre said, coming up beside Amanda. Side by side they look like clones, albino, hairless, androgynous. Another thing, this body is nearly 2 months old. Amanda gave him a look. That's impossible, she muttered. The bodies don't decompose, Andre said. They don't go through rigor mortis. Amanda shook her head, unbelieving, astounded. Agent Cross, Andre said. What's happening to these people? Amanda put a hand to her head and felt the need to sit down. She slowly sat on the cold floor. I don't know, she breathed, feeling lightheaded. What are you up to? She murmured. Han came forward and crouched beside her. I think you need a drink. Amanda looked at him and nodded quickly. She let him help her up. Andre stood before the two of them and addressed Han. The only reason I've sanctioned your involvement here is because I've been known to work with Agent Cross, Han interrupted him. Is because of these murders. We're all counting on you to come to a conclusion. If it's Nile Corp, we expect that you will obliterate their presence, or to consider them irrelevant if it isn't. Andre held Han's gaze for a moment before he dismissed them with a slight nod of his head. Amanda looked at Han when they got out of the building. All of that descending and ascending making them very aggravated indeed. Jealous much? She asked. Shut up, Amanda, Han muttered, rushing ahead to get back in the taxi. You brought me here, Amanda called after him, taking her time. Don't forget that. Alright, that was a really long chapter, but that was chapter 9. How are we feeling? We're finally getting into the meat of the story. After all this time. Oh, damn. Oh, that is exactly how an overweight... I'm just reading the comments. Oh, I'm so tired right now. That was a lot of reading. If you have any questions, comments, let me know. Junk Shop Library says, oh, that is exactly how an overworked waitress who's gotten stuck with this table would respond. Cheese on your beer, ma'am. It really is, isn't it? Leonard Ice, well, you are a far better author than me. Thank you, I appreciate it. Junk Shop Library, I didn't think it's too much in one sentence. It's a very Dickensian atmosphere you're describing. I think you can get away with such a Dickensian sentence. It felt like such a long sentence when I read it out loud. It probably didn't feel that way when I wrote it, but certainly when I read it out loud right now. So I don't like it. If I go back and I rewrite this, I'm definitely taking out that sentence. Godless Schumer's joined us. Welcome. Junk Shop Library. Scummer. Hello. Is it Schumer or Scummer? I don't know. Julia voice like the White Rabbit. Yeah, there was a lot of I was annotating Alice in Wonderland at the time, so there was definitely some inspiration from that. I'm never saying that name again. I'm never saying that name. Junk Shop Library. De La Veranda again. I know it's a pretty name when you read it, but it's an annoying name to say out loud. Welcome Bikash Shrivashtava. I've butchered that. Amitu Mobalobashi. Thank you. Junk Shop Library, I love this chapter. I'm so hooked right now. Julie LaVoice, that chapter was excellent. Well, we might just have time for one more. If it's not too damn long. It is chapter 10. So we might move on to that and then close out. So I'm ready. Let's go. Chapter 10. Lisa was amused by the sudden and strange change of rank. Suddenly, Han was no longer a favorite, and it made him bitter, whereas Amanda was adored for 10 seconds, and she was smiling to herself for the entirety of the 2-hour journey to meet Miller at her hideaway. The driver apparently knew the way. Lisa went over the information she'd gleaned from Andre and the cadaver and didn't think too much of it, if she was honest with herself. She yawned, not really caring about any of this business. Lisa was interested most in the rivalry between Amanda and Han. Correction, it was all she was interested in. The driver parked and shut the engine off. He said nothing. "Am I going to have to point a gun at your face as well?" Amanda asked him. "The fuck are we?" The driver said Miller will be inside. That's all she told me to tell you. Lisa looked over at the building. A smile crept over her face without her meaning to. She got out of the car, eager, more eager than she had been since this mission had begun. A nightclub, with glowing neon lights and beautiful people lining up to get in. Amanda came up beside Lisa and placed her arms on her hips. "Can't say I'm surprised," Amanda muttered. It was either going to be this or a strip club. Han squinted up at the sign. "I can't seem to understand what it says." 6 p.m., Amanda replied. "No, that..." Han paused and read the words 6 p.m. "Ah, I get it, I think." Lisa chortled. "When was the last time you were at a club, old-timer?" she asked him. Not waiting for an answer, she trudged up towards the queue. Han looked over at Amanda. "Please tell me you're annoyed by this." "It's inconvenient," Amanda admitted, nodding her head. Han sighed. "Something we can agree on," he laughed. Amanda didn't say anything. "What's the matter?" Han asked. Amanda was lost for a second before she looked at him and said, "Nothing." She was about to walk off when Han grabbed her arm. "What's the matter?" he repeated. "Nothing," Amanda said again. I thought I saw an old, one-eyed man with a wide-brimmed hat and ravens. Flocks of ravens." "Maybe you ought to wait in the cab. I'll go meet Miller." Amanda shook her head. "You didn't bring me here to sit around and do nothing," she murmured. "Okay, if you're sure," Han said. Amanda put her hands in her pockets and headed towards the set of stone steps. She didn't climb up them and join the queue. She vaulted over the metal banister and cut to the front, meeting with the bouncer. There was an outcry from the others who had been waiting in line since what might have seemed forever to them. The bouncer folded his arms and gave Amanda a stern look. "Who are you?" he asked. "The prince's long-lost sister. Twice removed?" "Amanda Cross," she replied. The bouncer checked his clipboard. "Sorry, Sunshine, name's not on the list." He turned up his nose. "Now get to the back of the line before I put you there." "I have business with Miller," she told him. The bouncer frowned a little. "Miller?" "Miller," Amanda repeated herself. The bouncer stepped aside to allow her through. Amanda gestured to Lisa and Han, and they rushed ahead to enter with her, leaving a very fiery and flustered crowd in their wake. The sound of pounding music slammed against their eardrums as they delved deeper through the sweaty mass of people, lost in their drunken stupor. Amanda gestured for Lisa and Han to stay put. Lisa ignored her and went off to get a drink. Amanda shut her eyes and just breathed for a moment, trying to find calm in this wretched and noisy place. Finding a sense of direction, she opened her eyes and nodded to Han. He followed her as she cut a path through the dancing horde, pushing and shoving people out of the way, never uttering a word of apology. Amanda paused at a corner, holding her head. Han knew it wasn't just the music that was bothering her. He saw her jerk, as if gagging, before she composed herself and went on in her direction. She barged into a ladies' bathroom. Although it was marked out of order, Han hesitated before he too went charging in. Han saw Amanda push through the third cubicle in place of a bathroom stall. In the place of a bathroom stall was an entire section of a room with mint-tinted walls and black and white tiled floors. In the center, a single chair, sat Miller, one leg over the other, hands together on her knee. She looked up at them and smiled. Amanda shut the door behind them. "I'm disappointed," Miller said, putting a finger on her chin. "Honestly thought you'd find me sooner." Han looked around the place. "I knew ladies' bathrooms were nicer. But having whole living spaces in here," he asked. Miller scoffed, being over-sarcastic and patronizing. "Oh, that's cute, that is," she said. "Where's your little blonde friend?" Will you go and find her and bring her here before she gets piss drunk? Amanda requested Han. Han nodded and went off to find Lisa. The two women let a moment pass. Then Amanda paced around Miller. Miller stood up and took a position behind her chair. I don't get it, Amanda replied, not allowing her gaze to leave Miller. Miller kept just as much focus on Amanda. Get what? What is it? Amanda murmured. What are you talking about? You, Amanda said. There's something different about you compared to all the others out there. Something inherently different. What is it? I have that effect on everyone, not just you, Miller retorted. No, everyone doesn't see what I see, Amanda said. Who are you? Miller sighed. We are not going through this again. There's some connection between us, Amanda mumbled, ignoring Miller and pacing around her, but not looking at her. Something so faint, eroded by time, but strong. Like I'm looking for something right in front of me, but I can't see it. Yeah, Miller reminded her. We've met before, Amanda, in Philly. Throughout the flight here, I fed you at the airport. It's called déjà vu. Amanda giggled. Don't patronize me, Miller. She laughed. She then looked around her, her eyes following something Miller couldn't see. Ravens, Amanda mumbled, brows furrowed. So many ravens. Why ravens? Miller looked at the ground and sighed. Han wasn't fucking around when he said you were batshit insane. Just then, Han came in, dragging Lisa behind him. But this is my favourite song, she protested as he shut the door behind them. Han chucked her in front of him and said, Priorities, Anderson, priorities. Amanda, Lisa cried out, and then drew up short. Oh, hi, Miller. Lisa looked around at the room behind the ladies' bathroom. That's weird, she commented. Miller looked over at Han and then back at Amanda. Remind me why you brought this liability with you? Hey, Lisa scowled. Amanda shrugged. Andy has her uses. As what? Miller asked. Entertainment, Amanda said. Now can we move along? Miller stared at Amanda for a moment. For the first time in a long time, she was spooked. She tried her best not to show it, though, and threw down the chair. The room began to shift in a circle. A section of the wall came apart, and the room turned into what seemed to be a different building. It was dark. Miller pulled her cell phone and used it as a torch, leading them through the darkness. London is a strange place, Han commented. This has less to do with London, Amanda told him, and more to do with paranoia and what it does to people. Spoken like one of the cliché architects that built this place, Miller replied, moving ahead. But it has its purposes. We're nearly there. She turned her head to address them. Word of warning. Keep your possessions close to you. I'm not paying reparations for theft. The tunnel led into a place with beaming lights irregularly placed at the edges of a raised ceiling. There was a sound of life echoing all over the place where people were everywhere. If all the people were freely walking around, it might have resembled a marketplace, but as it was, it looked more like a hangout for a secret army. Makeshift tents that were strewn from one end of the tunnel to the other, arms dealers at irregular intervals, drug dealers even more frequent. There were rows of people caged and chained in place, many women, scantily clad, and large squared cages in which two heavy-set opponents fought against each other, people cheering and shouting around them. Amanda watched as every person, free or not, looked up at Miller and greeted her as she passed. I misjudged you, Amanda said. You're not just a petty thug, are you? Welcome to the underworld, Amanda, Miller said. But your people have given me wealth enough to supply you with arms, and a vehicle that can house you. I'm not paying petrol expenses, though. Han said nothing. Amanda looked up at him. Did you know about this? Well, I think we've reached the 20% mark. This is definitely going to be the last chapter. Anyways, perhaps, he replied. Just when I thought I could stand being near you, Amanda spat. I guess I deserve that. Oi, Miller called her. It's just a job, Amanda, like any other. You do jobs for Nilecorp as well? Amanda challenged her. Miller walked up to her. We work for anyone who has the dosh to pay, she clarified. Now let me show you this vehicle and you can get out of my face. got work to do. Muller turned and led them. Amanda huffed. Okay, there's way too much of this. There's way too much of this chapter for me to do this while my camera's still alive. So we'll complete this chapter, I think, in the next reading, probably next week. But I'm just going to dive into the live chat telling me that the video is frozen. But what does everyone think? I hope it's been good. Oof, my whole back hurts. But I hope you've had a good time. It's been an hour and a half. I'm just looking at the comments. I'm glad that a lot of you are finding this story vivid, because that's what I was kind of going for. And after reading almost 10 chapters of it, I definitely want to dive back in and see if I can finish it. But I think I want to finish reading it for the live streams first, and then we can dive into a different story, and then that's even more fun. But yeah, I'm sorry my video froze. That was when my camera reached its 20% mark, so I am gonna have to log off soon. Any final comments that you have, go ahead. But yeah, thank you for joining me so far. If you liked the live stream, please do leave a like. You know, feel free to share it if you want to. If you haven't checked out the first part where we go through the first 5 chapters, please do feel free to go back and read those. I'm having a really, really good time, and I'm really, really happy that you guys are enjoying me sitting here and reading something. It's not, you know, mind-blowing content, but it is something just chill to just sit down, grab a blanket, have a drink, and, you know, relax and do nothing more than that. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you probably tomorrow for another video. I do want to test run a video game. I downloaded Lord of the Rings Online, and I really, really want to test run it, so I might record it today and like edit it down tomorrow and post it, but we'll see. I don't know about that yet. But thank you for joining me, and I hope you had a good time, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.